Kanye West walks into South Park and immediately becomes the show's favorite punching bag, not because he's terrible, but because he literally cannot stop feeding the fire. The whole gay fish joke starts as this absurd wordplay about fish sticks, and any normal person would roll their eyes and move on. But Kanye, dude takes it personally, publicly responds, and basically hands South Park an entire second episode worth of material. It's like watching someone step on a rake, get hit in the face, and then deliberately step on it again just to make sure it really hurts. The beautiful disaster here is that Kanye's actual reaction became part of the joke. South Park didn't just roast him once and call it a day. They created this perpetual motion machine of mockery where every time Kanye acknowledged it, the joke got funnier. By the time they brought him back for the Hobbit episode years later, they weren't even roasting the original incident anymore. They were roasting the fact that he never learned his lesson. What makes this different from other celebrity takedowns is the sheer staying power. Most celebrities get one episode, maybe a callback later. Kanye's character arc spanning years, all because he proved South Park's exact point about not understanding jokes. The man... And honestly, that's kind of impressive in the worst way possible. Tom Cruise gets the Scientology treatment, and South Park doesn't even pretend to be subtle about it. They straight up portray him as this guy so desperate to be seen as cool that he'll do anything, including allegedly hiding in a closet and refusing to come out. The metaphor isn't exactly Shakespeare-level complexity here. They're literally calling him out while making it funny enough that you almost forget how brutal it is. The real kicker is that this episode got temporarily pulled from reruns because of backlash, which only made South Park dig their heels in harder. Nothing makes the show happier than being told they can't do something. It's like they feed on controversy the way normal shows feed on ratings. The Cruise roast became less about Tom Cruise himself and more about proving that nobody, not even Hollywood royalty with connections to powerful organizations, could make them back down. And let's be real, the whole thing worked because South Park framed it as attacking the absurdity of celebrity worship and institutional control, not just one guy. Tom Cruise became a symbol, which is way more damaging than just being the butt of a joke. You can recover from a joke. You can't recover from becoming a metaphor for everything wrong with celebrity culture. Scientology celebrities, John Travolta and others, gets the full documentary treatment disguised as cartoon comedy, and John Travolta becomes collateral damage in the process. South Park doesn't use cute metaphors or vague references. They literally put up a disclaimer saying, "This is what Scientologists actually believe," while explaining the whole Xenu story. That's not a satire anymore. That's just aggressive fact-checking with jokes sprinkled in. What's wild is how they portrayed celebrity Scientologists as essentially brainwash puppets who can't think for themselves. Not troubled, not misguided, straight up controlled. For network television in the mid-2000s, this was absolutely unhinged behavior. Most shows would hide behind plausible deniability. South Park named names and dared someone to sue them. The whole episode becomes this weird educational experience where you're laughing, but also genuinely learning about belief systems you didn't know existed. It's like if a documentary and a comedy special had a baby, and that baby decided to burn every bridge in Hollywood. John Travolta probably didn't wake up that morning thinking he'd be cartoon roasted for his religious choices, but here we are. Hey, by the way, I'm posting pretty consistently here, so it would mean a lot if you could subscribe to the channel and drop a like for the algorithm. Jennifer Lopez gets the weirdest treatment on this list because she's not even really portrayed by a character. She's a hand puppet operated by Cartman. The whole thing is this bizarre commentary on celebrity branding where J-Lo becomes this manufactured persona that can literally be replicated by a 9-year-old's hand and some markers. It's degrading in a way that's somehow more creative than just making fun of her music. The genius here is that South Park turns her into a commentary on how celebrities become products rather than people. The hand puppet isn't meant to look like Jennifer Lopez. It's meant to show how empty and performative celebrity culture had become. Every exaggerated stereotype, every pop star mannerism, all condensed into Cartman's crude impression. It's offensive, sure, but it's also weirdly insightful about fame as a construct. This roast aged both well and poorly, depending on who you ask. Some people see it as prophetic commentary on influencer culture before influencers existed. Others see it as South Park crossing the line into mean-spirited territory. Either way, Taco Taco, Burrito Burrito became more famous than whatever J-Lo was actually doing at the time, which kind of proves the episode's point. Barbra Streisand gets turned into a literal Godzilla-style monster, and it's exactly as ridiculous as it sounds. South Park takes her ego and activism and says, you know what would make this funnier? making her an actual destructive force of nature. It's not subtle, it's not trying to be subtle. It's a cartoon woman destroying a town because she thinks she's that important. The episode works because it exaggerates something that already felt exaggerated. The way certain celebrities treat their opinions like divine mandate. Streisand wasn't just wrong in South Park's eyes, she was dangerously self-important. So they made her dangerous and self-important, literally. Sometimes the best satire is just taking someone's actual personality and turning the volume up to 11. What's hilarious is that Streisand reportedly hated the portrayal, which only made the episode more legendary. South Park basically said, "You take yourself too seriously," and her response was to take it seriously, thereby proving them right. It's the same energy as the Kanye situation, but with more property damage and giant monster fights. Britney Spears gets an episode that's genuinely hard to watch, and that's the point. South Park doesn't mock Britney herself, they mock everyone else. The media, the fans, the entire entertainment industry that treated her breakdown like appointment television. She's portrayed as a literal sacrifice, and the townspeople just go along with it, because that's what actually happened in real life. This is South Park at its most disturbing because it's not even trying to be funny in the traditional sense. The humor comes from discomfort, from recognizing that the cartoon version isn't that far from reality. When they show crowds gathering to watch someone's mental health crisis like it's entertainment, they're not exaggerating. They're just animating what tabloid culture actually was. The episode becomes this mirror held up to society that nobody wanted to look into. People wanted to laugh at celebrities, confront their role in destroying them. South Park confrontation by making the sacrifice literal. Years later, this episode hits different, knowing how the whole "Leave Britney Alone" movement became a thing. Sometimes South Park is ahead of the curve, and sometimes that curve is really depressing. Paris Hilton gets roasted as the blueprint for being famous for nothing, which feels almost quaint now in the age of TikTok stars and reality TV royalty. Back then, though, she was the peak of "why is this person famous" energy. South Park portrayed her as actively dangerous, like her existence was corrupting children just by being visible. That's aggressive even for them. The genius move was framing her as a symptom rather than the disease. Yeah, Paris was the target, but the real roast was aimed at a culture that makes someone like Paris Hilton possible. Portrayed as buying a new pet every week because nothing has to her, which is both a personal attack and a commentary on wealth and fame creating emptiness. It's layered in a way that most Paris Hilton jokes at the time weren't. Looking back, this episode basically predicted every influencer controversy that would happen over the next 2 decades. The idea that someone could be famous purely for being famous, that money and scandal could replace talent, that attention itself becomes the product. South Park called all of it before Instagram even existed. Paris Hilton was just patient zero for a disease that infected all of social media. Tiger Woods. Infidelity scandal becomes a South Park morality play about fallen heroes and public humiliation. They don't hold back on making him look pathetic because that's what the media coverage did in real life. The difference is South Park admits they're doing it for entertainment value rather than pretending it's news. The episode leans into shock humor specifically to highlight how hypocritical everyone was being. Tiger gets roasted not just for cheating, but for being dumb enough to get caught in such a spectacular fashion. South Park treats the whole thing like a Greek tragedy performed by idiots, which honestly isn't far off from how the real scandal played out. What makes this roast memorable is how it balanced mocking Tiger with mocking everyone obsessed with Tiger's personal life. Yeah, dude messed up, but why do we care this much? Why is this national news? South Park asks these questions while simultaneously exploiting the scandal for comedy, which is both self-aware and kind of gross. That tension is what makes it work. Ben Affleck gets absolutely demolished as this emotionally fragile celebrity whose entire identity revolves around his relationship with Jennifer Lopez. South Park portrays him as pathetic, unstable, and completely defined by tabloid narratives. There's no redemption arc here, no, but he's actually talented, escape hatch. Just pure brutal mockery of a guy who couldn't handle fame. The roast taps into something uncomfortable about celebrity culture. The way public figures become characters in stories they don't control. Affleck's South Park version isn't really Ben Affleck the actor or director. It's Ben Affleck the tabloid caricature, the guy who exists in gossip columns and paparazzi photos. By roasting that version, South Park questions whether celebrities ever get to be real people or if they're always just performing someone else's script. This one lacks sympathy in a way that feels almost cruel, which might be the point. Not every celebrity roast needs to have a deeper message. Sometimes South Park just decides someone's public persona is ridiculous and goes for the throat. Affleck got throat punched, and the episode doesn't apologize for it. Bono gets roasted for being aggressively, performatively good, which is somehow more cutting than mocking someone for being bad. South Park doesn't question whether his charity work matters. They question whether he does it for the right reasons. The episode reframes activism as ego-driven performance art, which is a nuclear take disguised as cartoon comedy. The brilliance here is how it makes you uncomfortable about praising anyone for doing good things. If Bono's charity is really about Bono, does that make it less valuable? South Park doesn't answer that question. They just plant it in your brain and let it grow. It's smart satire that targets not just one celebrity, but the entire concept of celebrity activism. This roast works because everyone kind of already suspected it, but nobody wanted to say it out loud. South Park said it extremely loud with graphics and everything. They took the uncomfortable truth that some people do good things partially for attention and made it impossible to ignore. Bono became the symbol for every celebrity who ever posted about charity work on Instagram decades before Instagram existed. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle get satirized not for who they are, but for the endless cycle of publicity around them. South Park doesn't care about royal drama. They care about how two people can claim to want privacy while doing interview after interview. The contradiction becomes the joke, and the joke doesn't pick sides so much as mock everyone involved. This roast sparked actual debates about fairness versus free speech, which is kind of hilarious for a cartoon. People argued about whether South Park went too far, whether the portrayal was accurate, whether satire has limits. The episode succeeded by making people mad without being clearly wrong. That's expert-level trolling disguised as commentary. The real brilliance is how it made the publicity cycle itself the villain, rather than Harry and Meghan specifically. They're victims of their own media strategy, trapped in a loop of their own creation. South Park just animated that loop and added jokes. The controversy proved the episode's point about how celebrity drama feeds on attention, even negative attention. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so please subscribe, and thanks for watching.